Hello and welcome back to another instalment of the A Christmas Carol Quote Spotlight. Today we're going to be diving into a pivotal moment in A Christmas Carol, and we're going to explore a quote that encapsulates the dramatic transformation of Ebenezer Scrooge. The quote that we're going to be focusing on today is Scrooge's desperate plea to the ghost of Christmas present, "Oh no, kind spirit, say he will be spared." Now, let's just reverse back so we can understand exactly when this quotation was said and why it was said. So this moment occurs in stave 3 of the novella, when Scrooge is travelling with the ghost of Christmas present. The spirit has taken Scrooge to see the humble home of his clerk Bob Cratchit, and Scrooge witnesses their poverty, but also their overwhelming love for each other and their Christmas spirit. Scrooge particularly notices their youngest son, Tiny Tim, who appears very ill and unlikely to live much longer. When the ghost reveals that Tiny Tim will not survive if his situation does not change, Scrooge is struck by deep sadness and pleads, "Oh no, kind spirit, say he will be spared." Now, when we're analysing this quotation for our orange sections, the first thing that we're going to look at is the opening, "Oh no." This is exclamatory language. You can tell that because it's got an exclamation point on it. And this exclamatory language immediately reflects Scrooge's deep desperation to save Tiny Tim. And if we think back to the horrible man of stave 1, the covetous old sinner who wanted all of the poor to die and decrease the surplus population, then we can argue that this is a level of compassion that seemed absolutely impossible for the unfeeling man that we met in stave 1. It's almost like Scrooge has had a complete epiphany. Remember, an epiphany is a moment of sudden realization. He's had an epiphany that by finally realizing the tragic consequences of his former coldness and the fate that awaits those in poverty. He addresses later the spirit as kind spirit, and that shows that he's now far more open and appreciative of the lessons that the spirits are teaching him. Again, a massive shift from the Scrooge we knew before, who distrusted the spirits and even attempted to dismiss them. The use of the imperative verb say is what you would zoom in on next. Now, all uses of imperative verbs show urgency, and it seems that Scrooge thinks it's urgent that Tiny Tim is saved. So perhaps he is finally beginning to recognise the problem of poverty and the fact that time is actually of the essence, and there's a strong motivation for him to change and change now so that Tiny Tim can be saved. The specific use of he, specifically referring to Tiny Tim here, is key. It shows how he's beginning to humanise the poor, to see them as individual people, rather than just this faceless, disposable, surplus mass that he saw them as before. The word spared is particularly important as well. To be spared means being saved. This can be seen as his desire not just for Tiny Tim, but for all of the poor to be spared from the cruelty of his own former mindset. He's realising the power people like him, the rich, hold to reshape the future. One final and subtle point that is going to send your analysis to the next level is by including the fact that he does beg here the kind spirit to save Tiny Tim, or to say that Tiny Tim will be spared. So while he desperately wants Tiny Tim to be spared, this quote also shows that he's currently unaware that actually he or people like him are the ones who have the power to solve the problem. Scrooge himself has the power to save Tiny Tim, not the kind spirit, just like all of the rich have the power to save the poor. So it sounds as though he's begging the spirit to fix it, not yet fully putting himself into the situation as the agent of change. His full acceptance of that responsibility will be the final step in his redemption. Now, this quote from stave 3, overall it marks a crucial turning point. It's the moment that Ebenezer Scrooge's frozen heart begins to melt, prompting him towards drastic action. The drastic action that he takes in stave 5, where he becomes a second father to Tiny Tim. And that quote is now finished. So now you've revised this quote, please complete a task to cement the knowledge. You can either write a full analysis paragraph if you feel up to the task, or you can pause the video on the next slide and answer the consolidation questions I've left for you. You have been revising today with Miss Parry. Thank you for watching.